some good stuff to look forward to right there. And now back to what we want to discuss. It was a sigh of relief to any drone enthusiast when the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority gazetted the proposed remote piloted aircraft system 2017, thus rendering the use of drones in Kenya legal. However, what might not be clear is that these regulations may prove to be a bottleneck to creatives, especially filmmakers, who would want to operate drones in Kenya. This is the basis of our creative conversation today with Ashley Nganga, who is an agency producer. Welcome, Ashley. Welcome to Creative Conversations.
Thank you.
To those punitive licenses, what is your take? Please paint a picture for us how it looks like for a producer.
Adhiambo, I'd like to just also acknowledge the fact that KCAA has a job to do, and they're now coming into a space which they don't usually deal with, which is now film. When it comes to how we can combine film and being in the aviation space, yes, it's going to be a bit tricky because then there's the technical side of it. There have been incidences where people have dropped drones. There's security challenges. There is safety challenges where people who don't know how to operate drones are operating them. Yes. But I'd also like to just say that a lot of the people that I've worked with who have been operating drones are youth under the age of 35. So for the fees that are being levied, or the license fees that need to be done, it's coming to about the same price as buying the drone.
Yes.
And for someone who's under 35, or who's mostly self-taught, because there's no school that's teaching how to operate a drone currently.
In fact, now that you've said self-taught, we also saw that in those regulations, they're saying you need to have a permit to be able to pilot these drones as well. Yes,
that's part of the fees. That is part of the fees.
Yes.
But I believe that from the KCA standpoint, it's more about the frequencies as opposed to the actual operation of the drone, but just how do you then learn what frequencies you can operate in, what are the safety zones that you can operate in, and all these things are important. Mm-hmm. Because at the same time, we're having a conversation with a colleague of mine, and we can't also have a border situation in the air, So there needs to be some sort of regulation. The challenge is when the regulation becomes a bottleneck, as you've mentioned, yes, that now it becomes inaccessible to people who are trying to fend for themselves, who are taking initiative, mm-hmm, and also just empowering the youth. And as I mentioned, it costs more than the drone. So I've been saving, I've borrowed money, I have a drone, and then now I can't operate it. I actually have a friend who told me yesterday, I'm looking for someone to buy my drone because you know what, I really can't deal with these licenses. And then this KCA is one license. Mm-hmm. You also, per project, you have to get a license to operate the drone. Yes. From the Kenya Film.
I was coming there, actually, yes. Ashley. We do know that in order for you to do like a drama or a short drama, you need to pay 5,000 shillings. There's several licenses. I want you to take us back as somebody who's been here for 14 years, and of course you've been licensing, you've done production for 14 years, yes, in the agency. How many licenses do you need as a film producer in Kenya, a local one? How many?
Well, we have the main license that you operate with for the year. That's one license, but per project you will actually have to get a license. One of the things that I do is shoot documentaries, and sometimes you go to counties and then they tell you you have to get an extra license. In some counties, some don't, some do. So it becomes a tricky situation where you're working across the country and you have to just keep picking up licenses as you go along the way.
So in short, if you were doing short documentaries in 47 counties, for example, let's just say you want to film how culture is done in 47 counties, will you be able, you have to get licenses in each county that you are in?
Now that's even the other tricky bit, because some counties ask you for licenses, some don't. So now, usually, in fact, you don't have too much time to prep. But then you get there, and in some counties they'll tell you you can't shoot. And then in some counties, they're okay with it. You just show the main license, and they're okay with it. Other than the filming license, then there is also, usually you'll have like catering. The caterer also has to get licenses to operate. And sometimes, like the other day, I was, we were on a set, and we shot in 2 counties, basically Ngong and Nairobi. And I think the caterer...
Kajiado in Nairobi County, yes.
Yes. So the caterer lives in Ngong, and she has a license from around there. And she came to this other side, and she's been told, hey. And then we are going to Thika after that. So it's, there's a lot of changes in the country, and I think it's just a matter of harmonization and seeing how we can be able to just make life easier.
So in the industry, in terms of licensing, we do know that the part of licensing was taken away from Kenya Film Commission and given to Kenya Film Classification Board. Yes. So they're now the ones who are regulating as well as licensing. And this was harmonized in 2013, and I think the Uhuru Kenyatta Task Force when they wanted to harmonize things. But as a filmmaker, is there a way that this would be easier? Already I know that each person wants to just do their job, and we also do not want rogue people to just get, to become filmmakers and maybe, I don't know, make excuses on behalf of other people. But how can you regularize this as the industry players? I think
it's consultations and just regular, perhaps quarterly or twice a year, just industry players just coming together and agreeing on way forward and how to make things easier, and also what is a pain point for everyone, and then also trying to understand from the other side, why was this important? Because sometimes it's also easy for us to say, hey, this is wrong. But then we've not even taken time to understand the other person's view, because there must be a thought. I'm imagining by the time someone came up with these numbers, there must have been some consultation somewhere. But then, did they consult the industry players to come up with these numbers?
Generally, even when industry players are consulted, we still watch, like now the conversations that have been going on online, everybody is saying they're blaming Kenya Film Classification, they're also blaming Kenya Film Commission. In your own understanding, these two bodies, how do you relate with these two bodies?
How do I, well, for what I do, I have to, one, I have to abide by the rules that are set until we do better. But what we're doing in the industry is we are also coming together so that we can also speak in one voice. Because then there's one conversation of being on Twitter and, bombarding someone with information. But then we are also saying we need to get organized so that when a situation like this comes up, then we are able to address it. Yes, so it will give us more power.
So is it that right now, where you are, how many bodies are now coming together to discuss the licensing situation? Because all I have seen in every forum is wheels and wars. Everybody is crying, in fact, wailing generally, and not having solutions. So who is blaming who right now? Because like I asked again, how do you relate with Kenya Film Classification Board, and how do you also relate with Kenya Film Commission? Because their mandates are different.
Their mandates are different, but at the same time, it's becoming like almost a gray area in a lot of ways. As you mentioned, we were getting licenses from these people, and now the licenses are coming out from these people. And our understanding was that the classification board was to just classify, like, what's the age? What's the age for each production? Where can you air it? And what times something can be aired, because even right now when I shoot a television commercial, before it comes on air, I have to get a license that now tells me what time it can be aired. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it could be within the watershed, but for certain products, it has to be out of watershed. So that was our understanding. So we were a bit surprised when now the licenses for film started coming from KFCB. However, there must have been conversations among them when we were not informed. But I think the engagement really, for everyone concerned has been lacking. And it's kind of sad because we're in communications. but I always choose to be positive, to be honest. And I think when you know better, then you do better. And I'm hoping going forward, especially this year, I'm hopeful that
I'm actually
will
concerned
improve.
when you say that you haven't communicated, and yet every time I read any tweet, specifically on the matter of licensing, we know who exactly we want to be hitting. And yet, as a filmmaker, you know that deciding on restriction is not necessarily a bad thing, or is it? Restricting you, for example, to license so that then we do know exactly when to air it. Is it a bad thing?
I think there needs to be order. I think there needs to be order. I think there just needs to be clear. It needs to be clear. So by the time I'm coming up with content, I know what the parameters are. I think there needs to be a document that's done, that's clear for everyone to know. So then it's not a decision that's based on someone's intuition. Then everyone knows what the market is about. But I believe there needs to be order. And we can't have like some of the content that airs under Watershed, to be honest, is a bit...
It's restrictive for you. We will go back to this matter of the drone, because that is the essence of our discussion today. Now, paint this picture for me. If you didn't have the drone for a certain production, how will it lower the standards of that production? For example, for you, for a commercial, or let's say a short film, how would that happen? Because like right now, there are probably people who will not use their drone. So how is how is this going to make your production either less or better?
You know, when we're coming up with a production, we work closely with the director, the film director. And if I was shooting green screen indoors, then I'm okay. But the minute I go out, then to just show the expanse, and if it's something that I want to show the beauty or something, or something big, you know, then I will go up, and so that you're able to just get a nice aerial view. But it just really adds to the film when you're establishing an area, when you're trying to show the beauty of landscapes and things like that. And I think there's something else I want to just tackle in this topic. Yes. There is the commercial bit of it, where it's for advertising. But then the other people who use drones a lot is people who travel. Yes. Yeah, there are people who just love to, you know, shoot a good video. We have a lot of bloggers who have travel blogs, and they also tend to use a lot of drones.
And weddings, by the way.
And then there's weddings. Yes. And then there's, you know, people who do not have large budgets to shoot, be it a personal project that you're working on. It could be students who are able to get a drone, but then how are they going to be able to then shoot something that is well shot, and if they can't even be able to afford? And then also we have people who come in from other countries. Yes. And then I'm sure they're not going to be aware. And then you're slapped with almost
200,000. 200,000 to pay.
100. Yeah, I think yes. So when you're coming in, and maybe you're just, you know, you're a tourist, and then you're slapped with that bill, then it becomes a bit restrictive. And these people, you know, they'll post things, and it's marketing Kenya.
So generally, filmmaking, we're supposed to be using it, you know, to help us market our country as well. But with these new regulations, which we both agree, I hope, that it's not for a bad thing for filmmakers, yes, but then we need to regularize that.
I think we just need to sit down as industry and see what's workable, and see with this rates, what do we stand to lose? What do we stand to lose as an industry? Yes.
Actually, this conversation can continue forever, and I wish we had more time to explore the industry. But as you know, these conversations, we can continue this conversation on Twitter. Of course, you can tweet us directly at @zinzikibuko_ and at Adhiambo. And of course, you know, Ashley, you're welcome back another time for us to continue this discussion. Zinzi will be back after this with